Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone who's watching this. This is the Sports Biz Camps speaker series. My name is Kevin Lau, market leader for the Metro Detroit area. And today I'm joined by an awesome just person overall, Shaun Didia from Michigan, but currently with the Ducks of Anaheim. As you know, Sports Biz Camps is like sports business 101 for high school students. And what we do with this series is really talk to folks that have spent a significant amount of time in the industry, talking about their experiences, their challenges, and hopefully parlay some of that into good best practices or tips that we can use to more or less distribute to high school students that are thinking about a career in sports or who have never thought that they could build a career within the business of sports. And so a lot of our questions will be centered around those types of categories and themes. But first and foremost, we'd love to have people get to know you a little bit. And so we're going to start off really quickly by giving us your stats. So let's go with your hometown, college, undergrad, major, and then if you had a sports nickname, what was that nickname?
Okay. All right. So hometown, Clinton Township, Michigan. Not too many people know where that is, especially out here on the West Coast, but suburb of Detroit. Went to Wayne State University, also in Detroit, Michigan. Majored in marketing. So ended up graduating there in 2008. And as far as a sports nickname for me, when Shaun Puffy Combs changed his name to Diddy, that really got me a lot of notoriety, I think, especially since my last name's Didia and my first name is Shaun. So I kind of rode that bandwagon for a little while. So Diddy stuck with me, or S Diddy, however, throughout sports.
That is awesome. I had no idea that was your nickname. I just learned something brand new.
See?
This is good. This is great. Things you don't know. So this is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thanks for giving us your background. Next, we're going to transition into some quick hitting questions just to get your mind flowing and your ideas popping this morning. So favorite type of food?
Oh, that's a tough one. Favorite type of food, but I think I'd have to go pizza. Pizzapopolis in Detroit takes 45 minutes for the deep dish, but it's well worth it if you're ever in the area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How many times have you been kicked out of a game?
How many times have I been kicked out of a game? I'm not that guy. I definitely have gotten competitive and upset with calls, but in my experience, I've never seen a referee or umpire change it because somebody got mad or changed the call. So I don't see the point. I'm not that guy.
Hey, that's great. And you're a baseball person, right?
Yeah. So it happens a lot around that sport.
Yeah, that's fair. Next question here. I know that you used to work for the Detroit Pistons, a little bit for the Red Wings. So let's rank them here really quickly. Lions, Red Wings, Tigers, and Pistons. If you had to rank them in your world, what would that look like?
That's a tough one if I were to rank the Detroit sports teams, but I'd have to put the Pistons at number one. I spent over 8 years of my career there, so always a special place in my heart, the Detroit Pistons. I'd have to say number two, the Tigers, just growing up, going to Tiger Stadium. That just is historic for me. And then Lions, three, I still believe in them. I know it's been tough over the years to be a Detroit Lions fan, but I still believe. And then four, I'd have to say the Red Wings, only because I'm with the Anaheim Ducks right now. So I feel like they're in a good spot there at number four. I'll another time.
That's fantastic. And lastly, I know you just relocated over to California. What has been the coolest part of working with the Anaheim Ducks?
Oh, coolest part about working for the Anaheim Ducks. There's a lot of great stuff. First, the ownership group is absolutely incredible. Just seeing what Henry and Susan Samueli do for the community and charities, it's just phenomenal. Proud to be part of that organization too. I'd say, the nostalgia, it's the Mighty Ducks. I grew up watching these movies, and it's still hard to believe, like, as I walk around the arena, man, I'm in the Mighty Ducks arena. Never thought that was going to happen. And then, three, Southern California, being born and raised in Detroit, I can go to the beach every day out here. It's 70 degrees. There's no snow. It's pretty easy to get used to. So a lot of great things, but I think those would be the ones that stick out the most for me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Cool. All right, now we're going to transition over to the first quarter. So these are the early years. Shaun Didia, early years, circa 1999, 2002, where we asked folks to share kind of like their origin story. And so this is a very broad question, but I'll ask it here, Shaun. What were the experiences or the things that helped you build your relationship with sports while you were in high school?
The things that helped me build my relationship with sports, while I was in high school, I went to a lot of home Detroit Tiger games all the time. It was like the thing to do. There was always a game throughout the summer. And I remember it was the coolest thing because sometimes we'd get awesome seats, and it was always because a friend had season tickets or a friend's company had season tickets. And it was like, you'd watch these guys on television all the time. And then to go down there, just the ambiance of it all, just, wow, that guy's only a few feet away from me, and then just seeing how like happy everyone was when we went, it just became like an escape from a lot of stuff going on. It was so much fun, and everybody left and had a great time, even if the team got blown out by 5 runs, which happened a lot growing up with the Detroit Tigers. But yeah, I'd have to say that's kind of what shaped the relationship and just my passion for the industry in general.
No, that's a good point you're bringing up here. I think often, I know that I built my relationship with sports by viewing it through a television screen, and the moments and the opportunities to see them in person was kind of this like wow factor for me. And growing up, we didn't have much, and so being able to have access, to those type of experiences really was just so cool to kind of escape and experience what you see on TV in real life. And I think the novelty of that was a big turning point, and it's good to hear that kind of was the same for you. Was there a particular baseball game or experience you had growing up that sticks out in your mind?
There was one time we got to go to a game. It was for a family reunion, so everybody was there. It was at Tiger Stadium, corner of Michigan and Trumbull, if you're from Detroit. We were there, and I was able to get Lou Whitaker's autograph. And Lou Whitaker was like he was Joe Cool. He was the second baseman. It was awesome. I never forget, like, he just took the ball, casually signed it, and handed it back. Probably, obviously doesn't remember. He did that all the time, but like made such an impact on me. It was just like that wow moment.
That's awesome. Cool. All right, we're going to transition to the second quarter. So this is the area where Shaun Didia is starting to grow up, right? So you have you're in high school, you're going through these experiences. As you entered college, so let's say you're a junior, senior, and as you're starting to think about college and the next step, you mentioned going into Wayne State University. That's my alma mater as well, and so we share that. Can you give the audience an idea of what was the plan? What did you want to be, and maybe how that evolved over the course of your academic life?
It was actually funny. When I first started into college, I knew I wanted to do something with business, but I wasn't sure what. I'm personally not a big numbers spreadsheet guy. So like accounting and finance, I knew that wasn't going to work. So I gravitated towards marketing. I thought it'd be pretty cool to put together some different marketing campaigns and be creative, which was really, really awesome, and you start taking classes and it ends up really cool. And you hear the word sales and marketing intertwined. And one of the things I always says, I'm not going to do sales, marketing for sure. But, when you think of sales, it was almost like a dirty word. It was like, no, I don't want the door slammed in my face. I don't want to get hung up on, I was young. I didn't really understand like the ins and outs of how like businesses work, and sales is the main function of it. So I stayed away from sales, went into marketing. I took an internship and an entry-level position with an advertising agency in Southfield, Michigan at the time. As the days evolved, and it was like, Monday through Friday was the same thing. I was putting together ads for soup and baby formula and workout stuff, and it was like coupons in a store. So, I'm thinking, obviously, marketing, I'm going to be, putting together commercials, and I'm going to be doing this radio stuff, which that's a huge part of it. But, in the beginning, that's certainly not what it is. And you have to put in your dues before you can get those really cool jobs in the industry. So at the end of the day, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I ended up seeing a part-time position available with the Detroit Red Wings. It was for night sales. So I ended up taking that position, and here we are later. So it all changed up just because I was a little bit more open-minded to that.
Was there any particular challenges that you faced in high school in the transition to college that's worth noting?
Yeah, I think in high school it's all about balance. You're getting pulled in a lot of different directions. You've got a lot of social stuff going on, probably clubs you're involved in, obviously lots of friends. So, the challenge for me was, in high school, all that stuff was kind of mapped out, right? Like your schedule was put together. Here's where I go, first hour, second hour, third hour. But, once you got past that point of high school, now you're in college, and now it's like your first shot at, okay, this is the real world. I'm putting together my own schedule. I'm going to take classes that I feel like I want to take. So, you definitely go through that transition period of, everything's mapped out for me. And now I'm kind of a little bit more independently putting my stuff together. It's when you first kind of realize, it's on you to manage your day and have the discipline to prioritize your activities. So for me, that was a bit of an adjustment. That's definitely a wake up call, I think, for a lot of people. But, the skills you learn while you're doing that will carry you into your professional career as well. Yeah.
Third quarter. So let's now we've discussed a little bit about the Shaun Didia in the early years, high school, and going to baseball games. We've graduated to the high school Shaun and some of the challenges there moving into college. Now we're going into Shaun Didia as the pro. You had mentioned this earlier. We discussed this, how your career started off in a part-time gig with the 11th time Stanley Cup champion Detroit Red Wings. Just throwing that out there. What can you tell the folks a little bit about what you did? What experiences within that first taste of sports, what that gave you, and then maybe an oh my gosh, hey, I can't believe I work in sports moment. I'll let you talk there.
Sure. So when I first got into the sports industry, again, I was working in an advertising agency. I was putting together coupons and baby formula ads, which is great. It's a great career, but just not really what I wanted to do. And I think if you want to get in sports, it's a very small world. So you really have to keep your eye on job boards and team websites and just really kind of be in the know. So I saw a position open, and it was a part-time night sales account executive. I was already working in the advertising agency, and it was a part-time role. It went from 6 o'clock at night to 9 p.m. So not even many hours, but I was like, that's kind of cool. And, of course, I think about how can I get my foot in the door? So I applied for the position, and, I started doing a little research of some of the account executives there. And it turned out I had a friend of a friend. His name was Kevin Lau. He was a current full-time account executive for the Detroit Red Wings, the 11th time Stanley Cup champion Detroit Red Wings.
Correct.
Yes. So he was already there. I was introduced to him and basically just picked Kevin's brain about, what does this position entail? What sort of some of the things you do day in, day out. And, it was an opportunity for me to kind of see from the bottom up how business works. Essentially, it was a part-time sales position. I was coming in the evenings, and I was conducting some arena tours with some folks that maybe wanted to do smaller packages with us, like 2-3 game plans, 5 game plans. I definitely wasn't selling the high roller glass seats or any of the club stuff or anything like that. But we were calling folks that maybe had bought some individual games before. Lots of phone calls, lots of face-to-face meetings. But I ended up doing really, really well and excelling in that night sales program. And I found that sales was just kind of a field that I gravitated towards. It was competitive, which I thought was really cool. I got to build relationships and talk to a lot of people, which I wasn't getting in the advertising agency. And then, sales is an opportunity where if you do it right, you can make a lot of money. And, in the ad world, I was on a yearly salary. So no matter how many hours I worked, I was making the same money. But if I put in a couple extra hours in sales with that night sales position, made a couple extra phone calls, my paycheck might look a lot different. So that really excited me and sort of developed me more towards the field of sales and getting into that profession again. Ended up working there for about 2 years, just kind of doing part-time stuff while I was working in the advertising agency as well. And then ended up going to the Detroit Pistons with a full-time career after that. And been in sports ever since.
What was the most challenging part, having to do part-time work with the Wings and still maintaining your full-time job? Was there anything there that you did to kind of make sure that the balance of that was okay, or from a well-being perspective?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to, again, high school, a lot of things are planned out for you. Your schedule's pretty much there in front of you and you pretty much just follow it, right? But as you go into college and you develop discipline, okay, I've got to get to bed by this time. I've got to work these kind of hours tomorrow. Friday night, maybe I shouldn't do too much, because Monday I've got a busy week. There's a lot of discipline and factors that go into that. But for me, doing the part-time role at the Red Wings, there's a lot of people out there that say they want to work for a professional sports team, but not everybody can, earn their stripes or work to get in the door. It's a very difficult industry to break into. So that drove me. And the fact that it was something that I enjoyed doing, it almost became to a point where it wasn't a part-time job. I just wanted to get to work and try and make more money or try and sell more seats, which is kind of how I knew I was doing the right thing. And I kind of wanted to turn it into something a little bit more. So when I was able to get the full-time role at the Pistons and do that full-time, I thought it was awesome. And it is funny because I would just tell you, be open-minded, right? Like I didn't want to do sales. I was like, no way. But I think you got to try different things. I think a lot of life and a lot of your professional career, sometimes it is trial and error, right? Like you've got to try things, not saying you should, try things for years at a time or anything, but be open-minded, don't just set yourself up for one thing and, be closed-minded to other opportunities because you never know. I wouldn't have gotten into sports if it wasn't for sales and my ability to kind of grow my skills as a salesperson.
When you start, I guess like when you do something you don't like or don't love, it's just as valuable as doing something that you do. You won't know unless you try it out. And I think we've all had our share of experiences where you thought this was going to be something you wanted to do forever, and then things change. Fourth quarter, last two here moving forward. Fourth quarter, we call this like the Monday morning quarterback, Shaun. We spent some time reflecting on things you wish you would have known. You alluded to this a little bit earlier, but let's put it in I guess, more cement terms. With regards to a sports career, is there one or two things that you wish you had known then that you know now? You've gone from part-time Red Wings to full-time with the Detroit Pistons. And then you made the jump, moved 3 time zones to Anaheim Ducks. I'm certain there are probably differences in culture and attitude and work ethic. There's a lot of things that are that change from sports team to sports team. What are some things you wish you would have known?
At first, again, going through college, wanting to do marketing, you spend a lot of time because you're so closed off to other opportunities. I didn't want to do sales, spent a couple of years in the ad world. Had I known a little bit more about how the business of sports works, I might have dove into it and gotten into the field a little sooner. But I also believe, things kind of work out the way that they do. I had to go through that experience to know I didn't like the marketing world and get into sales. Spent a couple of years with the Red Wings, turned it into a full-time role with the Detroit Pistons. We've had a ton of success over the years. Ended up taking, like you said, a full-time position with the Anaheim Ducks, 3 time zones away. And it's been an incredible experience. I wish I could have gotten into it sooner, but it's so easy to look back, hindsight always being 2020, and say, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. But I would just say, as a high school student, be open-minded, explore different opportunities. If you find something that you really want to do, like if sports is for you, get involved in networking groups, get involved in online discussions, join websites. The fact that you're watching this video and this interview, you're already taking a step in the right direction by just getting your name out there. Sports is a very small world. If you think of an engineering company or a law firm, there's thousands of engineering companies or thousands of law firms. But when you think of sports teams, there's only so many teams in each market that you can work for. So you might have to move. You might have to take other opportunities, but it creates just such an incredible experience. And sports is one of those industries that brings people together. It's not just if you're blue collar, white collar, whatever economic background you come from, we can use sports as an outlet to get away like I did growing up and to just take in that experience. And it brings people together. So I would say find something you're passionate about. I was told one time that you can be good at a lot of things, but to be great at something, you really need to love what you do. I think that's the only way you're going to put the discipline behind it and the passion behind it. And, life's hard enough. So make your profession something that you enjoy and something that motivates you to get out of bed every morning.
Is there any particular challenge that you're seeing like in terms of for young folks trying to get into the sports industry? Anything that kind of like you wish you could impart to those
Yeah.
folks that are maybe even about to apply for a job in the sports industry?
Any particular challenges if you're about to apply to the sports industry? So I would say, again, there's only so many sports teams out there. It's a pretty small industry. If you look at each league, there's 30 teams per league, somewhere around there. So I would be open to opportunities if possible. You might not get something in your home state. So if you want to work in sports, you might have to move. Again, with it being a small industry, you might not get the job exactly that you want. It's very competitive. There's a lot of applicants. So I would say that. And also, the sports industry is one that sort of kind of weeds people out as you get into it more and more, only because you don't make a ton of money at first. Some of those entry level positions, if you think you're going to graduate college and, make six figures in a sports job, it's just unlikely, especially in the entry level. So you have to stick with it for a little while. And that's why I go back to, you really need to like what you do and have a passion for it. Because if you do, you'll be more willing to stick that out through the ups and the downs. So those would be the challenges. But again, it's an incredibly rewarding industry. So if you can get through it, it's very, very, very incredible experiences.
Over time for some Hail Mary advice. We have one last chance here to make an impression on the high school students that are watching this recording. What is the best advice you've ever received that you'd like to share with a high school student that's watching or listening to this interview?
Best advice I'd ever received. I might say again, just going back to, you can be really good at a lot of things. You can just go through the routine. You can get up every day. You can show up to the classes. Or you can choose to have the discipline to get after it and know it's a very competitive world. And, once you get through college, it's a very competitive job world as well, especially right now. So I would say, like what you do, have goals, set priorities for yourself. You're going to get pulled in so many different directions, but know what's important to you, know what your goals are. Even if you have to write them down, you have to have something to strive for, or it's too easy to get distracted. So best of luck to you guys. I'm happy to be a resource for you. Feel free to reach out separately. And thanks so much for having me today. It's been my pleasure to talk to you.
Shaun, Didia, thank you so much for joining us on the Sports Biz Camp Speaker Series. Looking forward to catching up with you in person again soon.